Simon Gallaher was a child prodigy, both as a singer and pianist. He became a national figure on The Mike Walsh Show and led a revival of Gilbert and Sullivan. But he's not just a performer. He has a real nous for the business of show business. This week's Talking Head is Simon Gallaher. Simon, welcome to Talking Heads. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Peter. Nice to be here. I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you. Let's talk about you, though. What does it take to succeed as a performer over a long period like you have?
A long period probably means you have to reinvent yourself, and that probably also means that that's got to be done twice or three times or more to ensure that you are new and fresh. And there's a bit of luck and a lot of hard work.
One of the interesting things you've put together, and not many people do it, is to be not just the performer, but also the producer, entrepreneur, and actually combine both roles. That is an unusual thing.
It is unusual, but not for me. People have always said to me, oh, it's so strange, and you must be using both sides of your brain or something. And I was like, well, I'm just doing what I'm doing.
Well, to be a producer and to pull it off, you've got to have a real nose for what's going to be enduringly popular, or at least popular for a few months.
Yes, that's preferable. However, it's fraught with all sorts of pitfalls, and I think if, as a producer, you knew every time it was going to be successful, well, every producer would be extraordinarily rich, and that is not the case. Well,
let's go into some of those things as we progress. First of all, let's look at some of your early roles as a child.
Born in 1958 in Brisbane, educated in Brisbane, and wouldn't have wanted to, and have never ever wanted to, stray very far from there. Father, a doctor, now retired. Mother was a hairdresser from Toowoomba. I'm the eldest of three. Always music in the house. To this day, I think my favourite symphonic work is Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, which my parents often tell me was the music that they played as soon as they brought me home from the hospital.
I love a piano.
At a very young age, I would hear anything and pluck out the tune, and everyone was a bit agog at this little child who was able to do this. And it was really at the instigation of others that my parents were pushed, I suppose, into saying, this boy has to be taught. I was very lucky to have a lot of great people take me under their wing from a very early age to guide and steer me. I was sent off to Church of England Grammar. About the second or third day of school, they said, right, come on, we're going off to audition for the musical called The Pirates of Penzance, a show that was going to be with me for a very long time. They quickly explained that being an all-boys school, we had unbroken voices, boy sopranos at the age of 12, and it was our duty and responsibility and a tradition of the school that you had to play the girls' roles. Because of my early acting experience at school, I was also a good reader, and the school ran a media centre as well as doing all their theatre and drama. And the media centre, as part of their duties, also made a weekly television program in place of having a school magazine. I was the newsreader, so when the Anglican Church rang the school and said that they wanted one of the boys to read their news on the real television show, I was the one who ended up getting the job.
Someone knocked on the door of my dressing room.
This is my daughter, Gidget. I want to show her what a real TV studio looks like. This is the place where I first came to work when I was about your age, a little bit younger. I thought I was just coming up here to read the TV news for the church program, and thanks to the makeup lady who said that they were auditioning for the kids show, suddenly I found myself standing right here doing an audition, and A couple of months later, there I was doing my own TV show 5 days a week. Not bad, huh? I wanted to be an actor, but when the day of reckoning came and NIDA was coming to town, I suddenly freaked out and I thought, oh, I don't think I can do this.
A light on the stage.
And at the same time, my piano teacher said, why don't you think about the Conservatorium of Music? So that's exactly what I did. I went off and I auditioned. Tenors are much rarer than baritones or basses. So they sort of grabbed me and said, yes, we want to take you.
Well, Simon, back in those earliest days, was the path that you would take, was that a real source of teenage tension, adolescent tension with your parents?
Very much. My father is a very conservative professional man, and as much as music was there for much enjoyment, there was never any prospect of doing it as a career. And when it came time to sign this first contract I had with the Seven Network, my father had to sign it as I was a minor. And at the last moment, he refused to sign it. And he said, I'm not signing this. You're not doing it.
This is the contract for Simon's Scene, is it?
Yeah. And, you know, like every teenager, every adolescent, no, it won't interfere with my schooling. No, I'll be good. I'll do this, I'll do that. And please, please, please. And finally, he reneged. But in hindsight, I hear my father's words echoing through my subconscious nowadays when I speak to my own children, and I say very similar things.
Get a real job. Well, let's talk about those early roles on television. Firstly, the Anglican News. That must have been quite something to be given the Anglican News to present on Channel 7 in Brisbane.
I thought it was quite something because it was giving me a day off school.
Then Simon's Scene, about which your dad was very hesitant, and also that brought you face to face with some of the harsher realities of what the television industry is about.
Very quickly, and commercial television was very different than I ever envisaged. And I quickly understood the true meaning of ratings and not rating.
And you saw, with pretty devastating results, what happened to your co-presenter, a young woman.
Yeah, I started doing this program as a co-host with a young lady, and one afternoon we thought we were hopping up to the general manager's office for a thank you very much and Merry Christmas and I'll see you in the new year, because he was going on holiday. And much to both of our surprise, she was ushered in first, came out less than 5 minutes later, in tears, had been sacked on the spot and was told to remove herself from the station in the next 15 minutes.
What lesson did you draw from that?
The lesson I drew mostly was that I never wished it to happen to me. And my father cemented that for me 6 months or so later when I was, getting a bit carried away with myself. And he said, well, what happens if you get the chop like Georgia got the chop? And that brought it home very quickly to me that, oh, gee, I better do something real quick and be more in control of my own destiny, perhaps. And that's where I've come from ever since, I think.
Well, that sense of control started to be reflected in your early days at the Conservatorium, where, in fact, you started to produce your own show.
Yes. There was this white elephant, brand new, beautiful theatre that sat there on campus, that these music people who were more into lieder and oratorio, they didn't know what to do with it. And I walked around thinking, this is a theatre and I can put on a show. So I said, well, we'll form a society of the students and I think we should put on a night of Gilbert and Sullivan.